Hey guys, welcome back. It's Ben Taylor with Raw Motivations. If you don't know who I am by now, I'm a self-aware narcissist that's on this channel to provide awareness about narcissism, about the destruction that it causes in a lot of people's lives, and to bring awareness, growth, healing, and change to survivors of narcissistic abuse or people that have those tendencies, have those traits, and aren't sure what to do. So my story is a long litany of different things that have happened to me over the past 5, 6, 7 years of how I've messed up my marriage, how I've destroyed so many different aspects of it, and then how I've started to work to become a different person. I've started to work to become different in how I act, how I interact. And that all came with awareness. That all came with the idea of being able to acknowledge who I am. And that's one of the hardest things. That's one of the hardest things to be able to get past that thought. Because a lot of people come on the platform and they ask me during lives or in one-on-ones, things like that. They're like, how do I get this person to be aware? Like, how do I get this person to act like you? How do I get this person to be aware and to stay with me? And all these different types of things. And I try to be very clear in everything that I do, everything that I say. I'm not on this platform to give people hope. Because I don't want to be on this platform and give someone just one tiny little piece of hope that they stick with and they hold on to and they stay in that abusive relationship for longer than what they should, which is not at all. If you're in that type of relationship, if you're in a relationship where you're getting abused, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, anything like that, you need to take care of yourself. You need to make sure that you're getting out and you're focusing on your health and your growth. When people ask me, how do I get him to be aware? How do I make her understand? They'll keep asking, they'll keep saying all these different questions, different things, and I have to come to them and I'm saying, like, you can't. There's not a one shoe fits all. There's not a one size that fits all where you can come up to someone and you can be like, hey, you're a narcissist. In fact, most of the time, when you start to tell a narcissist that they're a narcissist, you're going to get it pushed back at you. They're going to project it back at you. They're going to mirror it back to you, whatever you want to call it. But they're going to say, you're the narcissist. They're going to start learning about the language to be like, hey, I think you're the one gaslighting me right now. And a lot of times it goes downhill really fast. So if you can, in that relationship, I wouldn't bring up saying, hey, you're the narcissist. Because oftentimes when people do that, it ends up coming back at them really hard, really heavy, a lot of times. So please be careful. But in terms of like getting someone to build their awareness and getting someone to actually acknowledge who they are, what they've done, what they've accomplished, you have to understand that narcissist doesn't want to be accountable. They don't want to be accountable for their actions because that means that the image, the mask that they have on is going to be blemished. Is going to have issues with it. Is going to have to admit to people out there that they don't have it all together. Because a narcissist is infatuated with keeping control of their image. Of how they look to you at the very beginning of the relationship, and then how they look to others throughout the entire relationship. How they look to their friends, how they look to their family, how they look to their church, how they look to anybody else out there. How they look to other people is very important. And so the idea of bringing in that accountability and that responsibility of like, hey, you've hurt me, you've cheated on me, you've lied to me, you've abused me, all these different types of things. So like, no, can't handle that. So if the gaslight, manipulate, lie, attack, to be able to avoid that possibility. Now, like I said, I'm on here not to bring hope because there's a lot of times that people try to talk to them and nothing happens. I have not yet found a way that I can say, hey, follow these 5 steps and your narcissist will become self-aware, because you can't do that. There's not something that I can just come up and say like, hey, do this and they will magically figure it out. It doesn't work that way. Because it has to come with them. It has to come to the place where they become honest with themselves, honest with the cycle, honest with the shit they're putting people through, and say, hey, I need help and I need to change. And if that narcissist isn't working, isn't thinking, isn't trying to get to a place of change, and you're seeing that happen, there's no change. Apologies without change behavior is just manipulation. It's just future faking. It's just giving you another moment of hope, thinking that they're going to change and thinking that they're going to have something that's different inside them, and then they go straight back to what they were doing ahead of time. So what I would recommend is to not tell them that they're narcissists. To not even use that word or that phrase, because sometimes they'll latch onto that. Like I said before, they'll latch on it, they'll throw it back at you. If you are dead set on trying to get them to be aware, okay, then what I would recommend is it has to come from them. You're like, wait, that doesn't really make sense. How's it going to come from them? Okay, if you've ever seen the movie like Inception, Inception is the idea where you have a thought, you have an idea, and it has to get planted down below in a person's subconscious to be able to have them come up with the own idea. It's manipulative in nature. I'm not saying it has to be manipulative in nature, but what I'm saying is a narcissist, to understand what's going on, it's almost like they can't hear it from another person. It's almost like it has to come from themselves, just like the change has to come from themselves. So if you're saying like, hey, you gaslight me, all of a sudden defenses go up, that's an attack. They're going to push back, they're going to attack you, they're going to rage at you, they're going to devalue you, they're going to discard you, whatever it is, but that's an attack. Because you have to remember, they think that they have this perfect composure, they think they have something that's the best thing to everybody out there, and so they have to maintain that. They have to make sure that no one else can see their mask slip. As a result, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of ego behind it that doesn't let that mask slip and doesn't let them get to a place of saying, hey, you know, right? You're right. I was wrong. Like, that doesn't happen. There's been small glimpses that I've seen of progress with some people. I'm trying to minimize any hope here, but trying to be honest. Small glimpses I've seen with some people that have come alongside and have shared stuff that they're learning, that have shared stuff that they've seen, that have shared stuff that they're like, hey, I think this person has it. And the narcissist is slowly start to realize like, hey, this is something that I actually identify with. But then there's also that idea of like safety. If they don't feel safe to be able to say, hey, this is who I am, because they don't want to admit that. They think that they can't admit that. They think that it's crazy to admit that. And like it'd be like cutting off their arm to actually admit, hey, I'm a narcissist. I've done this. I've been wrong. All this type of stuff. So if they have a safe environment, and if they have someone come alongside and be like, hey, I think so-and-so has this. Or, you know, hey, something I was reading about was this. Okay? Again, I'm trying to minimize hope here because I don't want people to go out and be like, oh, like this is going to fix it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is some people have had some success in some small instances actually communicating in that regard. But you have to remember how I talked about in the first part, you call them a narcissist, you start going through different labels and things like that, they will use that against you. My journey wasn't just a light switch. It wasn't just a change. If any of your narcissists out there are advertising like, hey, I'm all better now, I'm changed. If they don't have therapy, it's not going to really go anywhere. It's not really real. The people that change in the last minute are the ones that just knew the entire time that they weren't going to give you that. And then the last minute, they're like, wait, all my other manipulation is not working. So let me try something new. Okay, I'll pretend to give them everything they wanted to start off with. They knew it the whole time. So you have to be careful about that. You have to be careful about quick change, fast change that all of a sudden, oh, I'm all better. Is it really? How long does that last? Typically, not very long at all. So you have to be really careful of that. My change was gradual. My awareness was gradual. And learning about personalities, learning that like I relate different to other people. My emotions connect different than other people. I interact with people different than other people do. And understanding like, hey, my care, my emotion, my empathy, my sympathy, all this different stuff is different than other people out there. And me being like, that's weird. I wonder what's going on with that. Okay, well, I'll worry about it later. Kept going. I got involved with the Wake Up Warrior group. That challenge was absolutely influential for a person coming in my life to like scream in my face and say, hey, stop fucking lying if you want to be a man. And maybe like, I don't have lies. And then going through and then realizing I have a whole litany of lies. That's coming up here within this next week of the lies that I believe. Then the last one was getting involved with someone who had BPD and narcissistic tendencies and being able to see the same stuff that I knew from reading about narcissism, because my wife told me I was a narcissist, from reading about narcissists and seeing stuff being portrayed back at me, I was like, that's the same stuff that I'm doing. That's weird. But it slowly and eventually put me on a journey to figure out what's actually going on. Maybe I actually need to get the therapy because this cycle isn't stopping. And as I'm slowly destroying and depleting all aspects of my life, I'm realizing, hey, this is going to just continue for the rest of my life till it puts me in the grave. And getting frustrated and annoyed at that, I was like, I've got to change this. There's got to be something different. And so that's what I started to focus on. Getting into therapy, working on myself, trying to be honest, to get to the place where I'm like, hey, this is who I am. A self-aware narcissist on this platform, bringing awareness, growth, healing, and change. Hope that helps you a little bit today. If you want to talk sometime, there's one-on-ones down below. You can click on the link there. Listen on the Apple Podcast or Spotify. Would love to have you engage with our podcast that's coming out as well. We've got Empath versus Narcissist. It's a really awesome podcast between myself and a friend of mine where she's been in an abusive relationship for years before she's able to get out, and being able to tell some of her story and her perception and her perspective of how everything transpired leading up to that and everything that's going on there. Anyways, thanks so much. Listen for nuggets of truth dropping every single day on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks so much.